Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I'm super excited. I have Ruth Agbaji, the founder and CEO of the Code Wiz. Ruth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Of course, it's great to have you on. So for those who don't know you, could you provide a bit more information about yourself and your franchise?
Absolutely. So like you correctly said and pronounced my name, I'm Ruth Agbaji, and I founded Code Wiz in 2017. And it really was, I founded Code Wiz just because, for a variety of reasons, but the summary is, I was really looking for flexibility in my life, and I really wanted to find a way to impact the next generation, as well as use my coding knowledge. And so Code Wiz was the way that I found, and it's just been awesome. So we offer kids ages 7 through 17 coding and robotics classes through after school classes, and then camps during the holidays. And our whole vision and mission and all of that, to in a nutshell, is to be able to help kids express themselves creatively through code. There's this whole notion that coding is for people that are really good at math, or coding is for people of a specific racial ethnicity, but really coding is for everyone, and everyone can be good at coding. So that's in a nutshell who we are. We started franchising in 2019, and we have 4 locations now, 4 or 5. I keep mixing it up, but yeah, we're growing slowly.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. So since founding it, you had kind of like this 2-year, what I'll call like an incubation period. So when you started off, did you know you were going to eventually franchise your concept, or did it start out differently?
I did not. So before I started Code Wiz, I had looked into a couple of other similar type concepts. But the entrepreneur in me is like, I can do better. I can do it differently. How hard can it be to do it myself? And so I started down the path. So it was at that point I was introduced to the concept of franchising.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I decided to build my own, my big stretch goal at that time was I would build 5 locations over 10 years in Massachusetts, and I would consider myself very successful. Mm-hmm. So that's all I was thinking about. But as I started to see the potential. We grew really quickly. Our first location grew really quickly. And then we started to see people coming to ask us about franchise opportunities. They said the branding looked like it was a franchise. Are we sure we're not part of a franchise? And the demand for the services also really grew. And like I said in the beginning, the whole goal for living corporate and getting into business was for flexibility, and so that I could have more time for my family. But then if I was going to open a second and a third corporate location, it would take me away from my family. So I was like, all right, maybe I should start exploring franchising as a way to grow rather than putting it all on myself. And that's how that journey started.
Awesome. Very cool. So how have you found the transition from fully corporate to a franchise system with now partners in that system?
Yeah. So when I was about to start, everybody would say, just FYI, franchising is a whole different business than your actual business. And again, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. I'm sure it's not that bad and so on. But it really, really, truly is a completely different business. And one of the things that helped me from the beginning was when I started the corporate location, my son was ill for a period of time. And so there was a lot of like going to the doctors and so on and so forth. And so I had learned early on to delegate things to a manager. So that really helped. I was already very much hands off. I was, even though we had a physical location, I was doing a lot of the work that I needed to do from home while having the team run it in person.
Mhm.
So being able to, when I switched to being a franchisor, there was some shift, but I was already like delegating things to a lot of people. So that wasn't too bad. I think the thing that I really had to learn very quickly was that franchising is really, really a people business. It's really about being able to work with the franchisees and get buy-in. You're not slapping the rules, slapping the document at the table and saying, this is what you signed. Yeah, it's really about getting people to believe in the vision that you see so clearly and having them buy into that and just really like run with the brand and grow with it. I think that was the biggest growth point for me.
So tell me more about that. How have you translated this big grand vision in your head that you have for Code Wiz, and educated new partners that have come into your system and potential partners?
Yeah. So what I used to do, because I'm a very idea-driven person, I always have like 20,000 ideas. And what I used to do in the beginning was, oh my God, guys, I have this idea. Let's go do this, this, and this. And everybody's like, yeah, no. So what I learned is that to be able to, at least for our system, to be able to create buy-in, when I had an idea, I needed to, if I can show like a proof of concept
Mhm.
and then show some measure of success, it was so much easier for the franchisees to be like, oh yeah, 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 that's a great idea. And that was another growth point for me, because I have an idea, let's go try it out, let's test it out, let's roll it out, and so on. And so now I had to be a little more measured. It's like, okay, does this idea that I have, will it really grow the brand? And if it will, okay, can we run a quick test on it? And if yes, what are the parameters that we're going to measure success by so that we can share that with the franchisees? And so again, yeah, that was a point of growth for me. And I find that that really works, where if I have an idea, if I just do a small pilot and then I share the results, people do tend to buy in more. And the second thing that I think really worked out well is letting everyone have a voice,
Mhm.
where we can say, okay, and this really worked, especially with COVID. When COVID hit and everyone was just like, oh my gosh, what do we do? We all started meeting bi-weekly, and it's like, all right, everybody, let's all bring your ideas to the table. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Here's what I think. Let's all brainstorm. You can challenge me, I can challenge you. And at this point, we're just looking to grow the brand together. And I think I started to see a whole lot more engagement from them as well, when we started to say, okay, everyone has a voice, let's hear all your ideas. Versus, I think in my mind, it's a lot of the material that I had learned from, I've moved from, bounced from advisor to advisor to advisor. I'm in a really good place now with Angela. Shout out to Angela Code. So I think a lot of things that I had learned prior to that was the franchisor makes all the decisions and everybody has to follow. But
Mhm.
then I've learned that it's really a partnership, and it really works best when you treat it as a partnership. Yes, from a brand standards, the franchisor is in charge of protecting the brand, but the franchisees have a lot of value that they can bring to the table as well.
Awesome. Angela is absolutely great. I'm actually recording a podcast with her later this week.
Oh,
Funny.
cool.
But I love this collaborative approach that you take, because it really gives your partners in your system that sense of ownership to a greater degree than, maybe some other, especially larger systems out there. So one interesting thing that you mentioned is kind of like this scientific approach to testing out new ideas, right? Like you have this hypothesis, you create this environment of pass or fail, and you test on that. I'd love to hear about some of the tests that you've run and you've seen success on, and what you've learned from that.
Okay, so we launched a student portal, and I've always felt like, um, besides just giving the kids, teaching them coding, and having them go through all the lessons and so on, we really needed a way to motivate the kids. Some of our competition, some of our competitors, the way they do it is through like belt system, kind of like the karate thing. But I have always envisioned it differently because I don't want kids to feel the pressure to compete. I
Mhm.
don't want kids to feel, well, you're on the red belt, I'm on the white belt, I suck, you're awesome, because those are issues that I have dealt with personally.
Mhm.
And so I wanted it to be a more open, just choose your path, you go down your path, and we'll reward you for pursuing whatever path it is that you want to pursue. But then because it's more open, then it's harder to reward kids. How do you reward kids for, like there are no clear metrics to reward them by. And so I had this idea of giving them badges for just like projects that they complete, giving them badges for helping out other kids, things that we could measure to some extent. And so this was one of the things where I told everybody, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. And everyone was like, yeah, who's going to do all that work? So everyone was thinking about the administrative overhead that comes with it. I was like, okay, fine. So, and I pulled back on sharing it with everyone. And then we built out a simple system, and we tested it out with the kids, and we started to see a lot of engagement. Like parents would be emailing us saying, I'm really sorry about this, but my son keeps talking about his WizBucks. Can we please have this WizBucks, so they can feel good? And it even got to a point where some parents would email and say, I was just checking my son's balance, and I don't think he has the correct amount of WizBucks. I'm like, oh, you care about his like so WizBucks is our fictitious currency.
Mhm.
So if they complete a project, they earn 50 WizBucks, and then they can use the WizBucks to buy merch from our store. And so seeing the kids get into it, seeing the parents get into it, that was great. So we could I now took that and say, hey guys, look, the kids like it, the parents like it. This is something that we should roll out across the system. And then there was some more buying at that point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a great experience to actually have the parents,
Yeah.
emailing you like, "Hey, I want more. I want more. I want more. What's happening?" It must create such a sticky
Yeah.
customer base for you.
Yes, yes, exactly. So we started that pre-COVID, and a lot of the items were tangible, like water bottles, hoodies, and whatnot. So I think the challenge now that we're facing is how to go from, because all our classes are online, how to go from tangible items to intangible items that the kids will really appreciate. So we started I don't, are you familiar with the game Roblox? It's
A
like a
bit.
kids,
Yeah.
okay. Kids are all crazy about it. Like they're completely nuts. So nuts about it, not nuts. So we said to the kids, okay, especially for those that were campers, because the campers we were spending about 10 hours online a week with us. So some of them were struggling with like attention and whatnot. And we said, okay, hey, if you complete the course, you get WizBucks. And they're like, okay, what can I buy with WizBucks? Water bottles that will have to ship to you. And they're just like, everybody wants like immediate rewards, and they want it all to happen right there, right now. So what we did, we said, okay, if you complete the course successfully and you pay attention, you will earn WizBucks, but we will take that WizBucks and buy Robux for you. So Robux is the currency on the Roblox game.
Mhm.
Jordan, that was like a game changer. Every kid was focused. Everybody was working so hard. And then we started to see the parents again. My son bought Roblox, and it's been a week, and he hasn't gotten his. So yeah, it definitely that reward system has definitely created a sticky point with parents and the kids, and yeah, it's a great part of our system.
I love it. I love it. And you brought up something interesting, like with this shift due to COVID, you've brought everything online. So how have you seen growth and everything shift towards being more online now with Code Wiz? We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
When COVID just happened,
Mm-hmm.
We were all like, okay, this is temporary. It's 3 weeks, and then we'll all go back to our centers. A lot of the parents are like, oh, we're dropping not a lot, but some of them were, we're dropping the classes. We'll wait until you guys go back in person, and then we'll come pick it up. But I think as we all started to realize, okay, we're going to be out of our locations longer than planned. We started to see an uptick in enrollments. And I think parents and kids just needed to get used to the idea. And the kids were also struggling with Zoom classes and whatnot. So we had, after COVID, we had a slump, but then we started to experience that V-shaped curve. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about being online right now is we are able to reach a whole lot more kids that we were never able to reach. We have kids in Switzerland, Mexico, Canada, Nigeria. We haven't done Australia yet. I should go find someone. But it's really, really opened up a whole lot of markets for us. And even though we are small, just a few of us, because of that, territories right now, we're like, okay, we're assigning temporary territories to people. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no point saying you can't go after New York when we don't have a franchisee in New York. So, hey, if you have the funds, go after New York. But just know that you will give it up if we have a franchisee that signs up in New York. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it has certainly opened up a whole lot of opportunity for us. Post-COVID, whenever that is, we will probably pursue a hybrid model. I think that the online component is here to stay. I want to say the kids, most of the kids that we have now started with us in the online world and not in person. So once because the kids filter out, you can only hold the kids' attention for so long. So I suspect that once we are ready to go back in person, it would be like starting all over, because all the kids would be like, we're already in the online world. We already understand the space. So that's a whole different challenge for later, though.
Yeah, cool. So we've talked a lot about the consumer side, marketing and growth. I'd love to hear some of your insights on the franchise development side. So how have you found marketing your concept in this crazy COVID world, and especially with almost like these temporary or virtual territories that you have set up right now?
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, that has been a little bit of a challenge. When COVID hit, everybody kind of just slammed the brakes on franchising, and so all the leads we had, everybody just wanted to hold on. But I think that we're starting to now reach out to all the people that were in the pipeline before, saying, hey, this is an even better business than it was before, because before we were only bricks and mortar. Now we are bricks and mortar and online, and you could have both options. You could have either option. we are a super flexible business at this point. We are pandemic resistant. So I know it's exciting. So that's the messaging that we are pushing out to our leads right now. We try not to say, "Hey, come buy a business," because I think there are a bunch of people that are still not comfortable. So what the approach that we're taking is really just telling the stories from that are coming out from COVID. You know, how we pivoted, how that's going, how we've been supporting the community. What are Because we also had two franchisees launch in April.
Oh,
Yeah, mid COVID. So what their experience has been like, and now even more than ever, I am very zeroed in on who the ideal franchise prospect is, and so we're pushing that out to, if you're a fighter, if you're somebody who will not give up ever, we want you, right? And so that's the messaging that we're pushing out there, and I'm hoping personally to start to see returns in the Q4 end of
mhm.
the year, hopefully. But yeah, I took a pause on it because it was just I really wanted to stabilize the business. And we're small. It's a very small corporate team.
Mhm.
So it was like you're either focusing on sales or you're focusing on helping your franchisees succeed. And I chose to help the franchisees succeed first before continuing with franchise sales.
Yeah, which you know what? At the end of the day, I feel like that has a longer lasting effect
Right.
on your business than focusing on hunting for more. Because even with demo, like when people come into the system,
Right.
they'll ask your other franchisees like, how were things during the COVID
Exactly.
pandemic? And they'll be able to just have your back and be like, yeah, Ruth was kick ass, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy a franchise.
Exactly. That is what I am hoping for. And I think I personally overextended myself in making sure that everybody was good and that everybody was successful. Because the last thing, having been through the process of taking a loan to start a business, putting a second mortgage on our home, and just making sure that we're not losing our home because I was trying to build a business. I have a lot of empathy for business owners that start that way. And
Mhm.
so my number one goal is always, always ensuring that franchisees are making returns on their money. It might take a while depending on who you are and how much time you have in your hands, but at least if we can see that you're getting there, significant moving towards your goal, then we're happy.
Awesome. So Ruth, one question I always like to ask is what advice would you give someone that's just starting out as a franchisor?
Oh man, buckle up. It is a wild ride. But I think the most important thing is surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. It is the franchising world, in my opinion, is full of legal landmines. Like one small misstep, you could just blow up the whole thing. So definitely surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, that are looking out for you. When I started, I had no idea how much it would cost me. Like I didn't know it was such an expensive venture. And but then after meeting the right people, like Angela, I'm pretty sure your listeners would be like, okay, Angela must have sponsored her. Now, Angela is just an amazing, amazing person she gives so much more than I pay her for. But after meeting her, I had a good understanding of, okay, this is how much I need to plan to spend,
Mhm.
and these are the kinds of systems that I need to put in place, to really grow the franchise the way it needs to be. So I do wish I had known some of these things earlier, but it's not too late. We're just 4 or 5 units in. But yeah, that's the number one thing that I would tell uh, new early on franchisors is you really need to surround yourself with the right people. And the good thing is that franchising, everybody's like family. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people just are willing to give you information if you ask. So just keep asking. If they don't respond to you, just keep bugging them. They will eventually respond. But yeah, surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, and it's the best that you can do for yourself.
I love it. I love it. So Ruth, we are coming near the end of the episode, and I always like to end it with something that I call the lightning round. It's a few fast-paced questions. Don't worry,
Okay.
nothing tough. You ready? All right. So first question is, what is your favorite tool or app that you can't live without?
Slack.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a very good one. What is your favorite book?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm not a big reader. 1001 Great Ideas.
Okay. Okay. Who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
Angela Cody.
And last question is, where can people find out more about you and Code Wiz?
LinkedIn is a good place to be. I put a lot of thoughts and share our updates on LinkedIn, but our website is codewizfranchise.com or thecodewiz.com if you want to look at our programs and classes and whatnot.
Awesome. Well, Ruth, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing all of your wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.